Let's take a look at our stems for word within the word, list 13. The first one we have is chrome. Chrome means color. This is where we get our words like chrome, chromatic, chromosome, which you'll probably have heard in science, and monochrome. Monochrome is the one we're going to talk about. Mono is a different stem. It means one. So if something is monochrome, it's only one color. If you look at the picture that I put on the slide presentation, you can see it's black and white. These are all shades or tones on the gray scale. So even though it doesn't all look one color, it's all different tones of one color, which is gray. The next stem that we're going to talk about is form. Form means shape. This is where we get words like formation, formula, or the one we're going to talk about, uniform. Uni means one. So the word uniform implies that there's one look. Everyone who wears the uniform has the same one look. That makes it easy to tell them apart from everybody else. The next stem is secu. It means follow. This is where we get words like consecutive, sequence, sequel, consequence. We're going to talk about the word sequel. A sequel means the next in a series, so it would be the one that follows the one that came before it. Star Wars is a good example. There have been a lot of sequels in the Star Wars empire. The next stem that we have is glyc. This means sweet. This is where we get words like glycemia, glycogen, or glucose. We're going to look at the word glucose. Whenever you see O-S-E, ose, that indicates that you're talking about some type of sugar. That's a science word. You'll run across it at some point before you finish with all your science classes. That is the chemical formula for glucose. Hemo means blood. This is where we get words like hemoglobin, hemorrhage, and hemostat. Let's look at the word hemostat. The stem stat means stand. This picture is of a medical device called a hemostat. A hemostat is used to clamp off blood vessels during surgery, and it causes the blood to stand or stay inside a person's body instead of leaking out. So this keeps a person from bleeding more than they should. That's what the word hemostat means. Our next stem is ultima. That means last. This is where we get our words ultimate, ultimatum, and penultimate. Ultimate is the word that we're going to talk about. The stem ate means having the appearance of. So if we're looking at the word ultimate, it means having the appearance of being the last one, or the greatest one, the best one, the one that nobody will ever overtake. The stem infra means beneath. This is where we get words like infrared, infrasonic, and infralapsarianism. So I know that last one is a big word, but don't worry about that. We're going to look at the word infrared. Infrared is the part of the visible spectrum of light that is contiguous, means it's attached to the red end of the visual spectrum. You can see this picture. Infrared is going to show like heated up areas, maybe of a body. You can see here it looks like the body of a wolf. The red part is where the blood is flowing through. This is what we can't see with the human eye, but we can see with special infrared lenses. The next stem we have is leuco. Leuco means white. This is where we get the words leukocyte, leukemia, and leucite. We're talking about the word leukocyte. CYT means cell. So literally the word leukocyte means white cell. So what we're talking about is a white blood cell, a leukocyte. We all have these in our bodies and they're named for exactly what they are. Lyse means to break down, where we get the words electrolysis, analysis, and dialysis. We're going to look at the word electrolysis. When someone has a procedure that's an electrolysis procedure, it means something inside them is going to be broken down by using an electric current. So lyse means to break down. Electro would have something to do with electricity. So electrolysis is breaking down something using an electric current. You can see the little picture of the battery here. It kind of shows how that works. The next stem is meso. Meso means middle. In words like mesomorph, Mesozoic, or Mesopotamia. We're going to look at the word Mesopotamia. Mesopotamia is a historical region that's found between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. Potamus means river. So between or middle of rivers. This is a place that's now in what we call Asia, where a lot of early civilizations developed and gave us a lot of the things that we still use to this day. You can see where this region was in ancient times. And if you look closely at the map, you can see the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. The next stem is milli. Milli means thousandth. This is where we get words like millimeter, millipede, and milligram. We're going to look at the word millimeter, which is a thousandth of a meter. The word meter actually means measure. So if we're talking about meter as a way of measuring things, a millimeter is 1,000th of that unit. You can see about the size that it is by looking at this picture. Our next stem is mem, like in the word remember, and in fact it means remember. This is where we get words like memory, memorial, and memoir. We're going to talk about the word memory, which also could mean remembrance or something that you remember. The next stem is gress. Gress means step. Gress goes in words like progress, egress, and regress. If you look at the word progress, pro means forward. So if you're making progress, it means that you're moving forward. You're continuing to go forward. You're stepping forward. As you can see in the picture that I have, everything is moving up, 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 or forward. The next stem is labor. Labor is work. This is where we get words like laborious, collaborate, and laboratory. We're going to look at the word laborious. Laborious has another stem in it. It's called us. Us means full of. So if something is laborious, it's full of work. If you're doing a laborious task, it means you're working. It's not sitting around, it's actually working. So next time you're doing something laborious, you'll know where that word comes from. Our next stem is myo. Myo means muscle. This is where we get words like myocardium, myogram, and myotomy. These are mostly words that you'd run across in science, but it helps to know where they came from. If we look at the word myocardium, card means heart. So when we see the word myocardium, even if we don't know exactly what it means, we know it has something to do with a heart muscle. If we look at this picture here, we can see the myocardium is part of our heart, and the heart is a big muscle. Our next stem is vac. Vac means empty. This is where we get words like vacant, vacuum, and evacuate. If we're looking at the word vacant, the definition is having nothing inside or empty. So a vacant lot that you might see as you're driving down the street would be a lot that has nothing on it. No house, no building, no nothing. It's empty. Here's an example of a vacant parking lot because nobody's there right now. Our next stem is oligo. It means few or small. This is where we get words like oligarchy, oligocene, and oligoclase. Definitely words that you're not going to use all the time. we're going to focus on oligarchy. Archy means government. So if you look at this word, it would mean governing by a few or a small. So what you would have is one small group of people deciding what's best for everyone. That would be an oligarchy. Our next stem is os, O-S-E. That means sugar. We see it in words like lactose, fructose, and glucose. Let's look at the word fructose. Fruc means fruit. So when you see the word fructose, you know that this is a type of sugar that comes from a fruit. This is the chemical symbol of fructose, but there's a lot of products that we buy in the store that contain fructose. It just means it's a type of sugar that came from fruit, that they got from taking it out of fruit. Next we have the stem osis. Osis means condition. This is where we get words like neurosis, psychosis, or ichthyosis. And that's the one I want to talk about. Ichthy means fish. So if you have ichthyosis, you have a condition that's like fish. So what that would mean is your skin would look like the scales of a fish. That's what it's called. It means that when someone looks at you, they're like, oh, you look like a fish. You have a condition of looking like a fish. Our next stem is tude. Tude means state of. This is where we get words like multitude, solitude, and aptitude. We're going to look at the word solitude. Sol means alone. So this would be the state of alone. Solitude literally translates to the state of being by yourself. It's not necessarily a bad thing. Everybody needs to be by themselves sometimes, but when you see that word from now on, you're going to know solitude means being the state of being alone. The next one we have is patho or patho. You can say it either way. It means disease. This is where we get words like pathogenic, psychopath, and sociopath. If we take a look at the word psychopath, we can see that psych, which is a different stem, means soul. So someone who's a psychopath, it's like their soul has a disease. And this is what makes them do the things that they do, because something is wrong with them on the inside. The next one we have is phage. Phage means eat. This is a stem that we find in words like sarcophagus. Sarcophagus means flesh, because sarc means flesh or skin. Phage means eat. A sarcophagus, if you translate it literally, means it eats flesh. If someone is inside a coffin, you might say that the coffin has eaten them. They're inside it, like in someone's stomach. So it ate their flesh. The next one is phor. P-H-O-R means carry. This is in words like euphoria, metaphor, and anaphora. Let's talk about the word euphoria. E-U means good. So someone who's experiencing euphoria is carrying good all with them. That means they've got a great attitude, a terrific feeling going on inside them, and they're carrying it with them everywhere they go. You can see how happy these people are watching the fireworks. They're filled with euphoria. Our next stem is phyte. Phyte means plant. This is a word that we see in things like phytotoxin, neophyte, and phytochrome. We're going to talk about the word neophyte. Neo is a different stem. It means new. So what we're really talking about is a new plant. But when we talk about a neophyte, we're not usually referring to a plant. We're usually referring to somebody who's new at a particular job or at a particular position. Somebody who's new at something. It's like they're a new plant and we have to take care of them in order for them to be able to grow and flourish. The next one we have is leaf. Leaf is fill. So this is where we get words like chlorophyll, phylopod, and monophyllous. If we look at the word chlorophyll, we know that chlor means green because we had that in a previous list. So it means green leaf. Now chlorophyll is the substance inside plants that enables them to use sunlight to create food for the plant. Plants that are green are healthy and strong. So chlorophyll, green leaf, means that the plant is growing, it's strong, and it's going to be successful in its life. So that's your example words for list 13. Make sure you have all of your notes, move forward through the playlist, and then you'll be ready to take the test at the end of the playlist.